It's my great pleasure to welcome you here tonight and just to say a few words about the Pass It On Network, which is a growing dynamic network with all sorts of ambitions and wonderful plans. We've been going now since for the last 15 years, and we were started with Jan Hively and myself. And Jan taught me this wonderful Hopi Indian poem, which said that we are the ones we have been waiting for. And I think that that really typifies what we're all about. We cannot sit at this stage of our lives and wait for other people to show us what to do. We have to initiate. We have to take the cause and run with it. So we're very proud of this fact. We've got about representatives in 60 different countries around the world, and we are growing networks. One of the most dynamic networks is our one in Southern Africa, which is led by Nesta Hetandi, who I saw was here, but I don't see her on the screen right now. But I think that she is here. So Pass It On Network runs several ongoing programs, the first being this 50-50 webinar series. And the whole idea is to give everybody a chance to participate. It's not an up-down communication, but one that incites active participation of everybody. We run a Gazette newsletter, which is a little bit about every 2 months. And we have an open house session every month. In fact, 2 of them, one at 7 o'clock in the morning, which is pretty early, but that's to accommodate people in the Eastern countries. And as I mentioned, we have our networks. And this year in Cape Town, there's going to be the 17th conference of the International Federation of Aging. And we're going to have 2 symposium there. The one is going to be headed up by Nesta, who's our regional, and the other one is going to be regular pioneers who've been with us and followed us for quite a long while. And I'm very happy to tell you that we will be having with us then Cullen Hayashida from Hawaii, probably Cynthia Stewart, and Alex Kalesh, who is the father of the age-friendly cities movement in the whole of the world. And all of this is going to happen in Cape Town. And this is an excellent way to pass on to Osnat, who's going to introduce Lynda, who's from Cape Town.
What do you know? Welcome, everybody. Yes, this is really exciting for us to welcome Lynda here. But let me just tell you very quickly what Lynda is going to talk about. We introduced this session as Lifelong Experience Unleashed, Mobilizing Expertise for National Growth. It's a great title. Everything behind it is going to be revealed in the next 25 minutes. But first, I want to say a couple of things about it. We were very interested in how can a nation tap into its wealth of expertise and meet urgent development needs. We always say that we're the ones we've been waiting for. We have the expertise, we have the experience. People should benefit from this. This is one way that Lynda found to actually bring it to reality. Lynda has a lot of experience and 30 years of developing social entrepreneurship and finding innovative ways to deploy skills for all the professionals where the impact matters most. And this is, we're going to learn about it today, how connecting experience with opportunity builds economic strength and transforms communities. A few words about Lynda. Lynda is not only a founding member of Pass It On Network since its inception, she's also a pioneering social entrepreneur and award winner of the 2024 Healthy Future South Africa Accelerator for creating transformative solutions in South Africa through intergenerational skill matching. Her flywheel ecosystem model, she'll tell us about, developed through her 2 initiatives, Refinement Network and 50 Plus Skills, strategically connects retired professionals with emerging needs across corporate, nonprofits, and entrepreneurial sectors. Her vision revolutionizes how age diversity drives economic development and social impact. Get this, throughout her 45 years career in business as an entrepreneur, employee, and employer, she also became an accredited retirement career and life coach, earned a social entrepreneurship certification in the future of aging and longevity. And as she said before, we said, she lives in Cape Town, South Africa. And now over to you, Lynda.
Thank you, Osnat. Wow, thank you very much to both you and Moira for your wonderful words. And it's a real privilege to be here tonight. Great. So, yeah, those were wonderful words. But for me, more than anything else, this relationship, firstly with Moira. In fact, we were chatting just before we came on. This picture of Moira and I was taken about 6 or 7 years ago. We established the other day, but I have known Moira since before the Pass It On network was created. And as Osnat said, I am a pioneer member. I've met Moira many times when she comes to South Africa to visit her family from France. And I have the mantra that I want to be like Jan when I grow old. And I have huge respect for Jan and the work that she's done over the many, many years. So just to introduce myself, Osnat has given you a very kind of wordy types overview. But I think I've always been a social entrepreneur, even though in the early days of my career, that word wasn't really yet a career. But these words here on the screen are all words that I would use to identify myself, and the identity that is a changing process as we move through our lives. Focused mostly in my professional career in early childhood education, and loved being a mom. My children here at the top, this is my son Justin, he's 44, and my daughter Bronwyn is 42. They have both been married 20 years this year, and both sadly left South Africa in the year that they were married. My daughter lives in Thailand, is married to a Thai, and they are missionaries there. And these are my 2 oldest grandchildren. Daniel is going to be 17 next month. Naomi is going to be 16. And my twin girls here turn 13 this month. They are leap year babies. So just wonderful to be able to kind of create I love the work that I do because it just allows me to be anywhere. And tonight I'm just going to speak more about the South African context so that you can get an understanding as to why I chose the process and the models that we are using. So in 2023, one of the universities did a survey and a report called the Forerunner Report on the over 55s in South Africa. And basically what we are 30 years in a post-apartheid South Africa now, and only now we're starting to see the first major wave of Black middle class entering their 60s and 70s. The total population of South Africa is 64 million. Most live under severe financial constraints. It's definitely one of the most unequal countries in the world. For those of you in social entrepreneurship language, you know about the Gini coefficient, which is the ratio between those who earn the most and the least. Sadly, we have the highest ratio in the world. And one of our big major challenges for us is that 60% of our youth under 35 are unemployed. This is a slide that comes from that report. So it will just show you how long it takes for a society to change and emerge. So on the left-hand side, you can see a breakdown of all the people over 55 by race. So this navy blue area is the Black people. The white is this tiny little segment here. We're only 4% white, Indian and colored. And then, sorry, the white is this one, then Indian and colored and Asian. But if we break down the middle class of the over 55s, this is what it looks like. So you can see there is still a very long way to go for us to create more equality and growth. So this is one of the slides that I used in my presentation for the Healthy Aging, Healthy Future Aging Accelerator that I was part, and I'll tell you about that right at the end. So there are 8 million of us over 55, 30% more women. This little 6% here is those that can afford to retire and have saved enough. This red amount, 4 million, is people who get our old age pension grant from the government. It equates to $100 a month. And then this purple area is those that have some savings, but probably are at risk. And I'm starting to call this purple group the missing middle. They may have in some money, but not for a longevity world. And certainly that we are going to be challenged by those scenarios. If we put it into context globally, you've got the 8 million in South Africa, 67 million on the African continent. Currently, 1 in 11 people in the world lives on the African continent, but by 2050, it'll be 1 in 4. We will be one of the most, with the continents with the most people. And then obviously the global figure is there on the left. This sometimes happens to me on a slide, so you're going to, unfortunately, I sometimes have to just share again because it just freezes. Sorry about that. So 50 plus skills was started 8 years ago or 7 years ago. We're 7 years old this month. This is the team that started 50 plus. And it really was a meeting of minds around the table who cared about the future of South Africa. As you can see, we were young and old. And that is great to have with a wide range of skills. Most of the individuals as shareholders do run their own companies, but they're very supportive of the work that we're doing. So this is a bit of a graph of what our ecosystem looks like. So I like to call ourselves a membership economy. So we have people who pay membership fees every year, which helps us to be able to create a sustainable model, and really has helped us to you can call it crowdfunding, bootstrapping, whatever, but it certainly has helped us. And so in the membership, there's 4 groups that create membership here. Individuals over 50 join the platform. We have a number of non-profit members. We engage with small businesses who are maybe looking for skills that this group can offer, like an HR director who's retired that could help with some work, or it could be a financial person who serves on a board for a nonprofit. And then the 4th group is our corporates, who we engage with around their older employees who are 2 to 3 years away from retirement. And we run courses for them to prepare them for the next season. We are not financial planners, so we work with the Financial Planning Institute so that we know where there are financial planners for any of our members to be able to help them. We have created a place where I can train retirement coaches. We call it refinement, not retirement, so that we can create capacity as we grow. And we are starting to build small communities. Our byline is serving, learning, and earning together. And I'm going to explain to you what happens to cause this flywheel effect that I talk about. So what do we do for our members? They create a back end where they're able to put their details, where they live, the industries they've been involved in, what skills they have, what they're passionate about from a nonprofit perspective. We do newsletters, we do online events. We have a free academy to learn on a whole bunch of courses on entrepreneurship. You're all welcome to use that if you want. It's on our website. We love making connections, because I think part of what we all understand and know is that social engagement and connections and building belonging is an absolutely critical part of growing older with purpose and staying connected. Peer-to-peer learning, we often will get our members to do the online courses. We have fabulous members. It's one of the things I said during my presentation as well, is because people have to pay 500 Rand for membership for 12 months, it's amazing how few are prepared to invest in themselves. But the one thing I know is those members are wise, generous, skilled South Africans who want to make a difference. And so it may be less than I'd anticipated, but actually as a culture, it's very much creates what it is that we want. This is one of the courses that we offer to corporates, is helping them to transition strong and moving into the next chapter. So here's an example of, I'm just going to explain to you one or two of these from a flywheel effect as to what do I mean by that. So we have access and can create data out of our back end by industry, by geography, by skills. So this one here is by industry, and this was done quite a while ago, but it will tell me I have 42 members that have been in the educational field, 29 that have done administration, 1 lawyer, 1 legal, 18 manufacturing. I think there's the automotive industry, 6 people, mining, computers. So that helps us when we get a specific example. So I'll go to the other side of here. We had a big mining company in South Africa who needed retired high-level engineers as mentors for a procurement process for a new mine. And so we were able to look in our back end for our mining engineers and then create that kind of process. One of our nonprofit members is the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. They are always looking for counselors and for people to run support groups around South Africa. So many of our members have done that counseling course. And so that's the bridges. The nonprofit is there. On the other side is our members who are needing to do something more with their lives as they have left their formal career, and then they kind of move into doing something else. So those are just 2 examples. During COVID, one of the big teaching or education houses created online schools for children and requested from us many retired teachers. Part of our NPO group is, I was very mindful in the beginning of who I handpicked to become members. Some of them are umbrella bodies. So Financial Planning Institute is the accreditation body of financial planners in South Africa. They are a member of 50 plus. The South African Depression and Anxiety Group is a member. The National Mentorship Movement. NBI is a initiative that works alongside the government in creating mentors into municipalities. And we often are asked to find specifically engineers and finance people to mentor young people in the municipalities. Also under the NPO banner are some of the organizations that look after and take care of the older old. I like to often say our younger old, looking after our older old, or in this case, supporting places like TAFTA with Famada. NOAA is another wonderful organization here in Cape Town. And so there are a number of those. And then from a global perspective, I belong to both of these organizations, which I'm very proud of. And there it is now, freezing again. It's so a challenge, and I have tried everything to understand what on earth causes my screen to freeze, but it's... So part of our process for creating the future and what it was that I put forward in our accelerator program was that we have created this flywheel effect and understood it over this 7 years. And so we believe we're at the stage where we've built the pilot and we now need to scale. And for me, in the understanding of how I have worked in my previous careers, I've had 3 or 4 roles, and they have always been pioneering roles of growing companies by building communities. And so this is what we're going to be doing next, is creating local communities that mirror the ecosystem. So I'm starting here down in Cape Town, and during the year we're going to start 10 different communities across the country. And then as we do that, if there's interest from anywhere else, especially on the African continent, we'd love to be able to find a way to do that as well. And so the local community of where I live here in Somerset West, when I looked on the data back end, I had 4 members. We had our first session in November last year. This past week, we had our session. We are now 12. And so it's just local is easier to grow. And it kind of, everybody's kind of, reach one. And so we grow and we can scale. And so our dream is to grow into every community and then into the nations. I'm very mindful that longevity starts at birth. I spent most of my life in the early childhood sector, early parenting and early brain development. So I know that is also important. And health span is a critical part of how we need to create education and helping people to continue being healthy in whatever way they can. Communities matter. We know that, all of us. And of course, now from the United Nations Development Goals, these are the 3 that we focus on. And, obviously within the World Health Organization, the healthy aging. So here's the pictures from the 12th of December when the announcement was made that I had won second prize in this Healthy Futures Accelerator, funded by MasterCard Foundation in Canada. I'm very grateful for it. They have a huge investment in Africa across 9 different universities and a range of programs, not just this one. And they have a different university in the 9 different countries. And this was year 1 of 10 where the investment is being made. And so it was a real privilege. On the first day, when we met online, there were 150 of us. The program was aimed at the youth under 35, because as you saw from my stats, that's where we need to create value. By the time we got to the end, it was an onerous, very steep hill to climb. So it was 17 subjects in business science, 17 modules, 10 assignments on your business that were very challenging. Then 12 weeks of lectures twice a week across 24 subjects that related to health and entrepreneurship. And then a final pitch on the last day, on the 12th of December. At that stage, there were only 12 of us from the 150. So the others fell out along the way due mostly to the assignments. I think it was just very tough. Here is our website. If you are interested and want to connect, you can contact me that way through there. And I'm sure Osnat can also just put my details up in the chat. So thank you. It's an overview. It's it's up, and I know I'm handing back to you, Osnat, to lead us from here.
Wow, I can't believe how fast time went. It's so interesting. Yeah, let's see where we're going to take it now. First of all, Lynda, thank you very much. I noted that longevity starts at birth. The other thing is that health span helps people continue to be contributing and creative throughout life. So these are things that are important for every single person, and that everything starts from the first step. Like you said, you started in Cape Town, you started small 7 years ago with people who are like-minded, and now you are eyeing taking it national and perhaps larger, which kind of suggests that it is replicable and you only have to start from step one, which is very small. So what we're going to do now, keeping that in mind and what Lynda was just presenting to us, we're going to go to a 12 minutes breakout room of 3 to 4 people just to try to digest all that stuff in small groups, and then we'll come back and have a bigger conversation. Hopefully you had interesting conversations in the rooms, and this is not going to be a report, but if something really interesting, any interesting insight that you want to share with the entire group, or anything else that comes to mind from Lynda's presentation, please raise your hand and unmute yourself. And the first person who raised his hand, digital hand this time, is Tom Mottle. And then I think Anna wants to speak next, so Anna will be next.
Thank you.
Okay, Tom, you're next then.
Yeah. I would like to point out one experience our older generation all have. Coming from our country, our society, I think we carry on the traditional values, which the ones who are employed cannot follow them at all. Not in our society, not in Friedman economy. No. And we will carry the very simple value. Don't lie, don't manipulate, don't lie. Everybody tries to manipulate to make a better profit. Don't do it. We say to younger people, don't follow it. And I say younger people in our country, they refuse to the present economy, which changed human being to a mean of profit. The human beings were always in history the goal of some activities, be it economic activity or banks and so on. But it's crazy when a human being must be a mean from profit. And everywhere, all companies also are changing, are profiting from less employees and so on and so on. And it's a disaster to watch because the real basic human values, which we need to keep together, we are not an individuals, in persuading each one who serve as a mean of profit today and money and capital is main. Why? It has never been. People are the one. Everything is reduced in our society. And we have the real old values and can bring to a more stable society. And I must say, when we discuss with young people these values, they are very nice. They don't watch TV news, they don't read newspapers because this is the manipulation. Very general manipulation, but they are very nice. They would help to each other and share things to each other, which means they are a community, they are friends. Thank you very much. So I see this way, we, the older generation who are retired, can help to bring back the basic values.
So true, Anna. Thank you very much. I'd like to pass it to Tom Mottle.
Nancy Walton House from Snoqualmie, Washington, and Richard, I hope I pronounced it right, Windy from Kenya, and I spoke. And in brief, the first thing I pointed out was the parallels between the work you're doing, Lynda, and the way in which you're going about it. and the very large-scale activity originated at MIT and the Presencing Institute and the U Theory and U University. And they offer, through the enormous resources and connectivity of MIT, a global network which is meant to enable people and provide them understanding and resources to reach out to create social change. And I think what you're doing reflects one of the things that was pointed out in an email from Otto Sharma after Trump was elected, that the response has to be at the local level. And you are not doing purely local because you're reaching out through the country, but you're doing that. And the second thing in a second email he pointed out is to create change, you have to provide understanding, figure out how to get commitment, and that leads to action. And in discussing, Richard was pointing out things in Kenya, which reflect back to some of the things going on in the United States politically now, and how to cope with that by using the principle of organizing locally to combat inequities and discrimination and so forth. Nancy or Richard, if you want to comment, that's about all I'll say. By the way, I'll put in the chat the link to the Presencing Institute to everyone if you would like to have that.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Nancy. One theme that showed up in all three of our comments was the great concern about growing economic inequities, and how there's the privileged classes who are highly educated and have access to the internet and all of these resources, including having the money to pay to go into programs. And then there's, a growing, very large percentage of people that don't have those assets and therefore are not able to benefit. And we're very concerned about them.
I'll point out one other thing that we mentioned, and it came out from what Richard was saying, and we said it's the basis for the hope in the United States that things will endure for democracy, and that is a legal system, and that the legal system holds as a base from which to work. And without laws, which he pointed out are existing, at least in his perception, in South Africa, and perhaps not so much in Kenya, it's much more difficult to move forward in Kenya, broadly speaking.
That's interesting what Nancy and Tom and Anna were saying. It just, to me, it underscores the need to take the skills, experience, and passion of older adults and bring them to the life of people who haven't had the opportunity or may not have a readily available opportunity to formally learn and acquire skills and get that kind of scaffolding that you need in order to continue to build your life and move into our age creatively and productively.
I can't resist one more comment, because I was in a meeting this week where we focused on the concept of elderhood, and Peter Whitehouse, Rick Moody, and Richard Adler and I spoke on this for 5 minutes each. And most of us here, with perhaps the exception of Isaac, as who I see on the screen, are in the elderhood phase, and not defined by chronological age, but reaching a stage where you appreciate the broader concepts of knowledge, understanding, wisdom, and insights, and conveying that to other people as a mentor.
Lynda said that she started 7 years ago with a bunch of people who were equally passionate about something. They weren't quite sure how to work it out, but somehow they built something from bottom up. When I look at the screen here, every single person on this screen, the best of my knowledge, has done something similar, started something from scratch, and gathered the community around them and built something interesting and useful for their communities. And I'd love to hear from some of you of how does this experience that Lynda has reflected in your experience, and what is possible now after being in this experience of this last 45 minutes together and the conversations that we had? What is possible now for you? Where is it going?
Raise my hand.
Jackie? Jackie, you're on mute.
I think you have to differentiate between things that you started within a specialized field versus foundations or whatever. I mean, I'm in my 49th year of a self-help group for stroke patients, but it's not gonna grow, and it's not. But I just want to keep it alive, I think we have to differentiate here about what we started as an innovation to in my case to help persons who couldn't speak, taking care of all of their bureaucracy and whatever. But I think all of the things Lynda has done are on a much larger scale. Mine is a very small scale for the people over the years who have joined I call it the Aphasia Club. But it's very important because they don't have anything like that. And yeah, they come every 2 weeks to get together and we try and solve their whatever problems they have, or just they can communicate among peers because they all have language disorders from a stroke. But that's all I wanted to say, that I think there are differences in the areas we're working in, but I think they're all important.
Lynda, do you want to comment on any of this, what we've heard so far?
Yeah, I just commented quickly now in the chat, but I agree with you, Jackie. I think we all, I do this in the course that I offer called The Next Chapter. I think each of us are unique with our own skills and experiences and talents, and whether it's been your whole life focused on it or something that emerges later in life, every piece matters. And we all need to work as close to what we're passionate about. I use the Ikigai principle of, what do you love? What are you good at? What does the world need? And, if you need to get paid, then that's the fourth part of the Ikigai. But meaning and money are both currencies. And so we need to make the most of wherever we are.
Yeah. Valerie.
Yes, thank you, Osnet. Two things before I say what I wanted to say. I just wanted to say to Jackie that what you're doing in Vienna may seem a little thing, but actually little things grow. And I would love to be in contact with you. I've put my email in the chat. I hope that Osnet will send the chat to everybody. I think the idea of sort of collecting the kind of problems that those people that you were talking about have, and then creating something that we could share to others so that others can then learn about what you're doing. So do contact me and let's talk that through a little bit. Now, Osnet, I've forgotten what I was going to say. Lynda, I thought your presentation was very good, and I'm looking forward to doing more with you in future. I've met people around the world that I would never have met in any other way. And Learn with Grandma is in 52 countries, and we're doing good stuff. Again, it's little stuff, but little stuff grows. One little project I started many years ago actually was about making sanitary towels, and that can save, especially in African countries like South Africa, where people very often don't have enough money to buy the towels. But my gran made my first towels out of a wincey nightie. We didn't have handmade towels when I was, we didn't have machine-made towels when I was little, but we made our own. And a young lady in Cameroon, she washed the handmade towels until they fell to bits. And she worked out that they last about 4 years. Now imagine you're a family in Africa with 2 or 3 girls. Think of the savings that will be for that family if they don't have to buy towels for 3 or 4 years. It's really a very, and better for the environment too, because you're using recycled material. So,
Well, thank you, Valerie. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
well, I was just going to say I have to leave now anyway. So
Yeah.
I'll say goodbye because I have to leave now. But I look forward to getting the chat from you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Valerie.
Bye.
Doug and then Moira.
Yes, thank you. One of the things that I found in working with seniors and talking with them, this is an exceptional group, but by and large, at least in this country, seniors tend to undervalue their own experience. They think, well, it's just, it's stuff I've done every day. It's not unusual. It's not important. And I think that's really a function of the kind of ageism that's in our society. But it really stops a lot of seniors from contributing because they really believe that they don't have anything of value to contribute. And it's been one of my tasks when I talk to other seniors, is to really emphasize is that you're a very unique person with a lot of unique skills and experiences, and it's valuable, and you need to figure out a way to share that with others, particularly younger members. But the stopper is they just don't believe that what they've done, their life experience is that valuable that people would really appreciate it.
It's an interesting point that you're bringing up, and I'm just thinking that sometimes you don't know where to start. The programs that Lynda is offering are offering that particular opportunity. I can go there and I can figure out whether I can start there or not. And even though I know my value, I don't even know where to start, who to call, how to look for it or whatever. And the skills, the 50+ skills is a kind of a watering hole where people can find opportunities for that. And how can we create those opportunities, small and big, everywhere else? And Moira?
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Thanks, Osnet. I simply wanted to welcome here tonight Iris Arnaud, who's a young intern whom I met through Lynda. It just shows how well connections work. And Iris, if you feel like it, could you just give us an insight into the experience that you had as an intern in Paris? Because I think it really is interesting and would be of particular interest to this group.
Yeah, of course. Hi, a special hello to Moira and Lynda, whom I met a couple months ago. It's very nice to see you all again. I'm very happy to be here. I was very I think very positively surprised by conversations in the group because I mean I think it's pretty obvious I'm not exactly in the same I guess age group as most of the group. But it's really nice for me. I'm 24 years old, so it's really nice for me to see the kind of discussions that are happening and taking place between people of, I guess, older generations. So first of all, thank you for that. I just finished my internship at a French company, publishing and press company, and I worked in one of the think tanks that they launched called Club Landois, and the objective of this club is to help companies better accompany their employers throughout their longer lifespans. So we work on the subject of ageism. We work on the subject of caring, because more and more people are becoming carers for someone in their family, the family members, or and so something that I found really interesting in my internship is I was in charge of a project to build some sort of international network for the Club Landois to widen our network and the network of the club. And what I found really interesting was all the different initiatives launched throughout the world, whether it's with the Lynda's 50 plus skills or the Pass It On network, or I also met Jacinth Bassett from Ageism is Never in Style, and like a lot of other people doing pretty impactful, launching pretty impactful initiatives across the world. And I think even as we were talking about earlier, the fact that small initiatives have a lot of impact. I think even this conversation, even just for me, is very enlightening to understand, what's going on in the field, what conversations are being had. So yes, thank you so much for this, for the really interesting conversations, and I'm very interested to keep learning.
Yes, here's you can come back every month. We're having more and more interesting conversations. Yes, it is 8 minutes after the hour. In 8 minutes, we're going to close formally and then keep the conversation open for another 15 minutes for anything that didn't get said. But I want to offer 5 of these minutes to Lynda to kind of bookend the conversation. What is different now for you than it was an hour ago? And what are words of wisdom you can offer us to keep going?
Sure. So it was wonderful to be in one of the small groups and then to also hear the feedback now in the last 20 minutes or so. And I think for me, more than anything, it's about sparking opportunities that each of us can do, because a community or a small group of people can create change where they are. And so it's not about, building the big organization, but it's about kind of saying, where am I and what do I have in my hands and what can I do or offer to others that can make a difference. I remember very clearly waking up the day after we were in physical lockdown in South Africa in 2020, in fact, in March 2020, so 5 years ago. And I remember waking up in that morning and thinking, what can I do that can make a difference? I'm now home alone. I had always thought, because my children live elsewhere in the world, that it's just one flight away. And now the fear of not being able to get to anyone. And I realized that morning, I know about Zoom. And we were using Zoom already at 50 plus, but I learned Zoom from the Pass It On network and from Carrie Henley and Moira and Jan. And so that's what I did. I put it out there on Facebook or wherever that I would teach anyone Zoom. And I did Zoom conversations in and out for like 10 days in a row. And that fulfilled me in doing something that I had in my hand. And so I'm hoping that's what comes across, that we all can do something with what we have in our own community, and then collectively create something more when we're in community than we can when we're on our own. We're always better together. And, our rugby team, world champions, we're stronger together. Thanks, Osnat.
Thank you, Lynda. Thank you, Lynda. As Moira said, we are the one we've been waiting for.
Yep.
And this was a little change of pace because everybody had something to contribute to the whole here, as always, but I don't know, it felt a little different today. And I want to go back to last month where we were trying to figure out how can we do something more within the Pass It On network to bring people together. Those 12 minutes breakout rooms seem to be a little lackluster compared to what people want to have as deeper conversations. And we thought that March, we should give it a shot. In March, this is a 50-50 session on March 10th, we're going to do just that. We're going to have dedicate the entire session to 12 to 15 minutes breakout rooms. So that's about 4 breakout rooms with between 3 and 5 people, depending on how many people are going to be there. And you're going to use it to get to know each other, to see what clicks. Because yes, you might want to reach out to Lynda to speak about what she's doing, but in a conversation in a breakout room, you can actually find out some kind of mind meld, some kind of synergy that could create something beyond what Lynda is doing globally. That's why we are a global network. And we're probably one of the few, if not the only network of that kind out there. I have not seen others, but you might have. So I invite you to next month to just come here and be in a conversation. And after this conversation, we'll come back and together and kind of give ourselves some feedback, refine it for the next time that we're going to do it in a couple of months and see where it takes us. So this is no speaker, no presentation, just us in conversation with one another. Can't think of a better way to spend it. And hopefully Zoom will cooperate and keep us in our breakout rooms. So I put in chat a couple of links, how to reach Lynda, her 2 websites. We always welcome some support from our network pioneers to financial support, because we don't have membership fees or anything like this. What do you call it, Lynda? You call it the membership economy. We just have the economy part. So if you have it in your heart to send us some funds, it will help pay for Zoom and for licenses and all kinds of things that make this monthly conversations and other things happen. And also we have there a link to a survey. Tell us how your experience was today. What would you like to see again? Suggestions, complaints, everything else. And that is the formal end of our 50-50 today. And now we're going to keep the meeting, the call open for another 15 minutes to say whatever you want to say. If you need to leave, thank you very much for being here today. If you want to stay and speak about anything that's on your heart, please do. We are here for another 15 minutes. Thank you. And now, seamlessly moving into another 15 minutes.
I just want to think I haven't been coming in, joining for a while. But as usual, tonight, Lynda's presentation was refreshing, motivating, and yeah, the saying that says, we are the ones that we're waiting for, I don't know if I said it correctly, is that every day we can contribute and make a difference, whether it's just in our neighborhood or in our towns and so forth. But I think if we wake up every day and touch a life, that means so much. So yeah, thank you very much. And for you, Osnat, I don't mean to be controversial, but I know that President Trump has offered refugee status for the Afrikaners. I don't see any of them coming over, because truth is, South Africa is not as bad as what the US president makes it out to be. So yeah, thank you very much. And Richard, good to see you again. I met Richard in Durban, Richard from Kenya. We attended the Train the Trainer workshop in Durban, and it was a wonderful opportunity to network. So Richard, it's good to see you in this platform. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Thank you,
Great to see
Malebo.
you too, Malebo.
Thoughts, ideas, things you always wanted to say and didn't have the time, the energy. This is the time to do it. Isaac just left. Oh, there you are. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you so much. I always enjoy being a part of these conversations. I've been trying to collect my thoughts for a while now, but for some reason I'm having a bit of a difficulty. But I just wanted to share that, in this we had spoken about it in our small group. I think it's important, and it's also been mentioned a few times. It was mentioned a few times today as well. But the importance of thinking about one's perceived elderhood, or how one works with and thinks about their own uh, uh, older self, I guess, and how thinking about that when having younger people and older people, um, young and old, all generations really, to think about uh, how they see themselves in the world that they live in, and how we end up seeing that we actually all have a lot to teach each other. Of course, older teaching young, but also young providing their insights and the thoughts that they may have. But I think that, I guess the reason I'm sharing is because I realize as a younger person how much being a part of those conversations routinely, so like these conversations that we have, but of course with many other conversations as well, just how enlightening it is as a younger person to sit in and view how people speak about older adults, and how it's something that I'm not at that point yet, because, well, I'm simply not at that age yet. And it's very enlightening. And it's very interesting to think about that, what the world might look like when I'm older, given that I'm young now. I think if we create conversations where younger and old can come together to discuss topics like these, I think it could make for really rich and rich personal development that I think can help aid our communities moving forward. I just wanted to share that.
Wow. Thank you, Isaac. I encourage you to reach out to your community of your generation and invite them to our next March 10th session, because they'll have an opportunity to have these conversations with people who they might not meet on a regular basis. Global ones.
I just wanted to say that on one of our 50+ conversations, we did a younger and older groups, so an intergenerational conversation with breakout rooms with 2 young and 2 old people in breakout rooms. And everybody absolutely loved the depth of the conversations that happened. I just think we need to create the opportunities to make that happen, to kind of really create a movement of how we create conversations between young and old, because I think it's important for both generations. Thanks, Isaac.
Richard?
Thank you, Osnat. Unfortunately, I have difficulty with my video, so permit me to speak from behind the curtain, so to speak. Yeah, interesting thought that the younger member of the conversation this evening has come up with, and Lynda has summed it up very well, that the conversation should not be one-off, they should be ongoing. I just want to add that we should go beyond the conversations and engage in certain tangible activities that will bring these two age groups, or the two ends of life, the younger people and the older people, together. As an organization here in Kenya, we run an organization called Age Watch Africa. And last year, during International Day of Older Persons, we decided to celebrate that day by bringing the two groups together. We focused on a sport, a particular sport, football in this case. So we brought young boys aged 10 to 13-year-old. They had a tournament, and then we brought retired footballers, 60-plus-year-olds. They had their own tournaments, and the whole stadium was ablaze with fun. We spiced it up. For instance, when the younger boys were coming into the pitch to play football, the older ones were walking them in as mascots, holding their hands, so to speak, passing on the baton to them. And so following that tournament, December into this year, and as we go into March, we now having conversations to see how can we work together with the young people and the older people so that the retired footballers can pass on the talents to the young boys, and that will continue to strengthen that intergenerational mix. So just wanted to add that beyond the conversation, we should go into action steps, and that will blend the two groups very well.
Yeah, thank you for your wise words.
Sorry, I can't figure out the raising hand button for some reason. I don't know where it is.
Go ahead, Iris.
No, but I just had a thought. I recently finished my studies, and this Zoom setting kind of reminded me of my classes, my university classes during COVID, and in a very positive sense, this feels very much like a class, but one where there's not specifically any designated teacher, but with everyone interacting and bringing something to the conversation. So I think, again, I've said it before, but I think this conversation in itself is already very insightful for me. And I really resonate with some of what Isaac said about just being able to learn from the people around, and that in itself being a gift. So yeah.
Wonderful. So we're all teachers and students, and I think Lynda was saying before that her organizations support lifelong learning. I think as Basseton Network, we support lifelong learning because that's the only thing that can keep us, again, productive, contributing, and creative. And going back to longevity starts at birth, it kind of wraps a nice ribbon around everything that both Isaac and Iris and Nancy and Anna and Jackie and Moira, everybody said.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to thank you for today. And I've been in this conversation since 1982. I did a seminar called Creative Retirement. And I think I kind of fell prey to some stereotypical things. And so I went away. And last week, I gave my first presentation since COVID called Intentional Aging, Planning for Success in the Next Stage. And so I hadn't done that since 2020. And so I was met with maybe some resistance. 36 people came, but they were very doubtful about the conversation. So today has been really special because I'm so reinforced and encouraged by this conversation and especially the global aspect of it. And I look forward to forging ahead now to continue the conversations that I'm trying to have in the communities. I'm in North Carolina, mid-state North Carolina, and my first group was a church group. So I hope to get in the community soon.
Wow.
I do want to say that one of the authors who did a program suggested to me that there was a conversation that my community may not be so exposed to, and he encouraged me to go and make that happen. So, yeah, thanks for everything today.
Thank you, Brenda. You brought up a really interesting point about that some communities are isolated and insulated from whatever is happening everywhere, and that may be another aspect that to figure out is how to open up communities that usually don't get broader perspectives and views, especially the ones like Doug said before. They don't believe they have their own value, and that's one perspective. We here believe differently, and how do we open this conversation to communities and individuals that don't share that value of themselves? Nancy.
Yeah, Brenda, I appreciate what you just said. And I think in some ways it links back to what we were talking about earlier in the small group that I was in about how there are barriers. Sometimes they're structural, sometimes they're cultural, that prevent people from being interested and desirous, curious, about learning more in this area and opening up more possibilities. And so I think that's challenge number one. Everybody that's here obviously, believes in the value of opening up and learning more about how we as older adults can be productive and contributing. And it sounds like we're all doing work, in the field. But it's true, I have also experienced that resistance both within my own family, where people have so much internalized ageism that they don't even want to talk about these issues, to looking at what's happening at the local senior center, which is very similar. And I think so that's challenge number one, is how do we identify what those barriers to access are, and what's the most effective way of removing them so that people can be interested and benefit from what's available for them, because there's so much that's out there that's available, but you have to want it. And also I think it's not just a matter of wanting, it's like you need to know how to access it. I mean, we're all on the computer. 1/3 of older adults are not on the computer, in America, So that's a huge issue. How does knowledge like this get shared with people that don't have access online? And so I would love to have us talk about that topic sometime, Osnat. I think that's real critical when we think about doing this work.
Send me an email. We will have many opportunities throughout the year to nurture this kind of conversation. I'll put my email in the chat.
Will do.
We are at time. We want to honor your time, and I just want to pass it on to Moira. Pass it on. Love saying it. Pass it on to Moira for sending us off and saying everything she wants to say while she unmutes herself.
Before I cough, I simply wanted to say, bouncing back on what Isaac said, what Iris said, what Nancy's just said, etc., Just to share a little bit of an experience with the in Paris here, I belong to an organization called Old Up, and they have this wonderful term. They call themselves the apprenti centenaire. In other words, they consider that they are apprentices. They are apprentices becoming centenarians. And I think that's a very nice way of looking at it, because we're all learning. I mean, this is exactly what Isaac has said. You know, he likes conversing because he's trying to imagine what it's going to be like when he's there. So we, as in our age group, we're trying to imagine what it's going to be like when we become centenarians, because definitely the whole age structure has changed so much. And that's all what I wanted to say. But I really like that, because it's not ageist, it's not teaching anybody, it's just learning, and that's what life is all about from start to finish. Thanks.
Thank you for the opportunity. It was wonderful to engage with all of you, and yeah, just keep all doing great work. And thanks, Osnat and Moira, always for all that you do behind the scenes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for being here today. Our next call is on the 10th of March. It's going to be a Pass It On networking call. We're going to have opportunity to meet individually in small groups to share passions, visions, and everything else. And we hope to see you. We look forward to the invitation in your mail in just 7 days.
Super. Thank you, Osnat. Thank you, Lynda. Thank you, everybody.